Welcome to the Scrappy Entrepreneur Podcast, the show that brings you practical, informative tips from the trenches to help you thrive and prosper as an entrepreneur. Whether you're just beginning your journey or working to grow your existing business, this show is for you. And now, your host, the original Scrappy Entrepreneur, Paula Y.
It was the year 2014, and Brittney Andersen was on a long road trip to visit her father. As her husband drove the car, she started sewing a pair of moccasins, or mocks as she would call them. With a desire to create shoes for her children, she took a tablecloth and a pattern she bought off of Etsy and started sewing. The first shoe took her over 4 hours to stitch by hand in that car that day. Today, Brittney Andersen is a small business owner and a scrappy entrepreneur, selling more than 1,000 pairs of moccasins every month from a shipping container in her backyard in Henderson, Nevada. Today, she can make a pair of shoes in under 4 minutes. I sat down with her recently in her kitchen to learn about her earlier beginnings as a business owner. These are some of the things that she said.
Self-taught, just figured it out. I just feel like we're super transparent with our customers. I had to make it work. I would go out in my car during my lunch hour while I was working, which is only 30 minutes, and I would do that in the car. This is a challenge. This is hard. Let's figure it out. Oh my gosh, you look so tired. Like, yes, I know. I'm building an empire.
So much more in this episode today. So let's join Brittney Andersen from her kitchen. Brittney Andersen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Thanks for inviting us into your home.
You are welcome. Happy you're here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to show everybody actually where all of the magic happens out back.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So tell me, so you have a company called Bare Soles Moccasins.
Yep, that's correct.
And when did you start the company?
So we started in 2014, so we're in year 6, and basically it was, I wanted to make shoes for my kids, and so here we are.
So did you start, so you were a former teacher.
Yep.
You were
I was a 6th grade reading teacher for 10 years here in Clark County and loved it. Like, that was my passion, and then didn't know that I had a different passion waiting for me, and here we are. So
right. So you have 2 children.
2 boys, 7 and 8.
7 and 8. And did the business come from wanting to make shoes for them?
Yeah, that's where it started. And we were, the first pair I ever made, we were on a road trip to California, and I had bought a pattern off of Etsy, and literally with a needle and thread and leather. It wasn't even leather, it was like tablecloth material from Joann's, fabric store. And I literally sat there with a headlamp in the car and stitched 1 pair in the 4.5-hour car ride. 1 single shoe.
Oh my gosh.
It was awful. It was terrible.
Where did you learn how to sew?
I didn't know how to sew. So it was literally me learning as I went. I didn't own a sewing machine prior to this.
Wow.
I didn't even know how to thread a sewing machine prior to that first pair, and self-taught, just figured it out.
What made you want to make your own shoes?
I've always had like the creative nature, like wanting to do something, draw, paint, make, just busy, I guess, with my hands. I scrapbooked for a while, and there was just always that like creative part. My grandpa was a painter, and my dad's super artistic, so it's just, I think, just to be busy, and this is just something that I just decided one day, like, I think I'm gonna do this.
That's awesome. So you made your first pair of shoes.
Yep.
I guess on a road trip, you said?
Just 1 shoe, and then we were going to my dad's, and my stepmom had a sewing machine, and she was like, well, why don't you sew the next one? I'm like, okay, but can you thread the machine for me, because I actually don't know how to do that. And so she did, and it took me, I would say, about an hour to sew that second shoe, which now I can have a whole pair made in about 4 minutes. So
wow.
I've definitely progressed in my sewing skills. So my husband Jeff finally bought me like a heavy duty sewing machine, I think from like Amazon, which comes in the little box and isn't heavy duty by any means compared to what we have outside. But I sewed on that for a little bit, a lot of trial and error, a lot of things getting stuck, a lot of figuring it out.
So when you first started, did you just start making the shoes for your kids?
Yeah.
And then
at
how
the
did
time,
it become a business?
a lot of my friends had just had babies. So it was all like, oh, these are really cute. I want some, I want some, I want some. And, you know, I eventually ran out of tablecloth. So I had to go, you know, like, hey, maybe we should really try leather now and let's do this. And leather is actually not a cheap textile. It's extraordinarily expensive, especially for someone like me who was learning. And, you know, the trial and error process, you know, the needle is not forgiving in leather. That hole is there and it's going to stay there. So you'd have to cut out a new piece and start again. And I would actually start looking for couches that people were getting rid of, and I would cut out the panels of leather on couches, and that's where a good portion of the very first pairs came from, was old discarded couches.
Wow.
We used to skin the couches in the driveway and then put them out to the trash. It was a fun. People would call me, Brittney, I found a couch on this street and this street. You should go pick it up. And I would always, like, you know, ring the doorbell and knock and be like, hey, are you guys getting rid of this? And they're like, yeah, sure, it's out for the trash. I'm like, can I pay you for it? And they're like, no, we'd be happy for you to take it. So I did. I was upcycling leather is what we used to joke and say. And
wow, that's
where
scrappy.
The first one came
That's
from.
very scrappy.
That is scrappy.
So you started selling to friends. Is that where you have such a strong following? So what really I think, you know, in researching you and learning about your company, your following is so strong. You have over 10,000 people on Facebook, 20,000 followers on Instagram, and I keep hearing these stories about you show up at Disneyland and you offer a pair of shoes and all these women come running. Like
it's been unreal. Like, it is something that's manifested into something I would have never imagined. Like, and not only do we have a big following, I feel like the followers that we have are like our family. Like, we were just talking a minute ago, like, some of these girls, we talk about them on a first name basis in our office, and we feel like we know them. We hope that they feel like they know us. And it's very, very fun to watch it flourish.
How did you grow that? So, like, you know, there's a lot of books out there about creating super raving fans. I mean,
I have not read one of those. I don't know, to be honest. Like, I just feel like we're super transparent with our customers. We're very behind the scenes. We share our family, and I feel like people can kind of relate to that. Like, when they feel like they know who they're buying from and they like that person, they're willing to spend more time with you.
Yeah.
So that, you know, we try to keep stuff fun and entertaining. And, you know, I'm in other Facebook groups where, you know, sometimes it gets a little catty, a little drama. It doesn't happen with ours. And that's not anything that we've, you know, set down rules and that sort of thing. It just, we've found just a really great, fun group of people that just continues to grow, and it's been super cool to be honest.
Did you just like start a Facebook page, start an Instagram page, and then the moms who were loving you started sharing it, and it just like grew organically over 6 years?
It started on Instagram primarily, is when I decided, like, okay, I could do this. Like, let's open a business. I would sew a pair and I would post them on Instagram, and people could comment and buy them.
Oh.
And I would maybe sell like a pair a month. Like, it was not, I mean, because I was new, and I mean,
Right.
It wasn't, you know, I'm not obviously the only company that, you know, offers this type of product. And
so that was like 6 years ago. So you just made a pair and put them on Instagram.
Yeah, made a pair, put them on Instagram. You know, here's what size they are, here's what they measure, kind of thing. And I still remember my very first like actual customer that wasn't a friend or a friend of a friend. Like, it was an actual, her name was Rebecca. And I will never forget it, because she was my very first, like, oh my gosh, I actually got like an order that I don't know this person. This is really exciting. So yeah, and then Facebook happened and started a business page, like once we had a name and that sort of thing. And then it just took off from there. The VIP group, though, that we run is fun because it's an outlet for our brand. And everybody that's in there wants to see what your kid's wearing, like what shoes, what did you pair with their shoes, what did you know, what sole color did you pick, and what bow color did you go with? And they just love to just be a part of it with each other, which makes it really fun. And that, for us, has been our favorite part of it, is that group.
So the VIP group is a group on Facebook, and then does that include your membership as well?
So the membership is a paid membership. We call it our squad membership, and that puts you just in a group where when your orders come through the queue, you're first up after. We offer like a rush option, but priority in production. Your shipping is free every day. You get like a welcome gift, and we send you like fun little perks throughout. Exclusive drops throughout your year of your membership, like, hey, you know, this leather is only for you. You guys are the only ones that have access to it. So they really like that extended part of that family niche that we have. So it's been fun to offer.
So how much did you sell your first pair for on Instagram to Rebecca?
$20.
$20.
And it was a cream colored couch is where the leather came from. It
From
was
a cream colored couch.
And the couch was found at Goodwill by one of my mom's friends. We paid $2.99 for the couch.
Oh my God.
And I sold my first pair of mocks to Rebecca for $20.
Wow. Now, how many do you sell now? Fast forward 6 years.
Oh man, I mean, I think we just passed 24,000 order numbers just on the website platform that we switched to in late 2017. So before that, we were using a different website platform that didn't track by order number. It was like random, which had several thousand on that. And what's amazing about our customers is we've tried to keep our mocks affordable and our products affordable in the sense that people don't just come for one thing. I mean, I'll ship out orders that have 28 pairs in them, you know, and it's the size ranges enough to where your newborn can wear them and so can your 5-year-old, you know? So I mean, my own boys wore them until the day they started kindergarten because they needed to have athletic shoes for school. So it's, you know, you hope that people stay and people hang out with you, and that's kind of what's manifested to a little bit more than mocks these days, is we've got handbags and, you know, apparel and blankets and things that just are affordable, kind of a one-stop place where you can just find anything for gifts to your kids, to grandma wants a blanket, like anything you need.
Right.
So
back then, you're still a school teacher.
Yep.
And you sold your first pair to Rebecca.
Yep.
When did it really start to take off? I mean, when did you move on to find a different leather manufacturer? And
so we used to shop locally for leather, and there's a place here in town that they're basically known for just like one-off hides of leather. I mean, you want a black colored hide or a white or a red, they're gonna have one, and that's it. And as we kind of, you know, it became I have red today, and then I would, you know, it would take me maybe 6 months to use that one hide of leather. But because it was so expensive, I, for a while, would buy the one color, wait until I had enough money to buy a second color, not take a profit, and then go invest in another color and invest in another color and invest in another color. And eventually it was creating the website, which we didn't do. So from July to about September, it was all purely Instagram. We opened up the website September 10th, 2014. So that's really kind of when I started just pushing that link out to different places. I joined a lot of mom groups on Facebook because that was my target audience.
Right.
You know, here's my sale that here's my one color red that I have. Like, here's what I've got. And because they were only $20 at the time, it just kind of took off and people started sharing my name. And I think what really helped us a lot, though, is the support system that we have with our family and our friends. We have a really just big group of super supportive people, and that really helped us just by word of mouth in general, kind of helped kick it off a little bit, and then it just kept going.
So your husband's a part of the business. His name is Jeff.
Yep.
And he is an architect?
Architecture, civil engineering background is what he does. His actual day-to-day job is a mouthful. He's a construction defect litigation expert, witness, consulting something. Like, it's a big, long job title of things.
So he still has a full-time job?
He does. He contracts out himself when he's needed, so it does give him the flexibility to work here with me and alongside me. People ask us all the time, like, how do you guys work together every day and still like each other? Like, We just do. Like, we work really well. I mean, there's some times when, he'll cut out something incorrectly and I've got to correct him, or he reads something wrong and he's got to redo this, and, the banter's back and forth. But it's so awesome to have that opportunity to be able to work from home with him, do it together.
Yeah.
I mean, and before him, when I was working full time and I was just kind of doing the mock thing as a side hustle, on my own, it was just moccasins. I didn't even think about offering anything else besides moccasins. And it was actually him who not only designed the first bag, he sewed the first bag. I didn't even know he could sew, to be honest. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from?
Right.
He designed the first bag, and he's now basically, I want to say product development. When it's new, I basically just tell him hey, this is kind of what I want. I want a wallet, and I'll draw out hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for, and I'll use my handle. I want it that big, make it that big, and or make it that big, and he's measuring because he's got to have it precise. But
right.
He comes up with all the rest.
And then he does a lot of the cutting.
He does all of the cutting.
All the cutting.
He does all of the cutting. So he's got his own side of our office outside that has everything he needs, all the leathers. And to go back to our kind of round circle back to that story about the one red hide, we now stock over 50 solid and metallic colors. And we just surpassed 75 exclusive prints that are just ours.
Wow.
That have been drawn for us, that we print on leather, that are ours, that belong to us, which is pretty cool.
So how did you move off of the one supplier?
She became not somebody that could keep up with our volume. I would need more than just that one red hide, and she wouldn't be able to get it. And so we had to kind of start sourcing other places, and that's where Jeff comes in handy, is he has the patience to sit and research and research and research, and I'm like, no.
Right.
I want to be sewing.
Right.
I want to be sewing.
That's the seat on the bus.
We're now up to 5 leather suppliers. We have one in California. We have one in Texas. We have one in North Carolina. We have one in New York. Our main one is New York and California. Those are our 2 big suppliers, which I like kind of having them spread out, because when weather and different stuff happens, I can get it when I need it. So it definitely helps.
So you're buying the leather, but you said that they're exclusively yours. So you've hired some designers to actually design the prints.
Yep. Yeah, so we were one of my favorite ones that we've ever done is what we call Magical, and it's a Disney inspired, because we love going to Disneyland. And I was walking through the Hilton, and their carpet at the Hilton had these little circles. And when you looked at these circles, it almost looked like a Mickey head, but it wasn't a Mickey head. And I'm like, I could probably get around doing some sort of magical inspired design without crossing that boundary, because one thing that we've stuck with is no logos, no license, everything is very neutral. I can't have Disney coming after me. So
right, that wouldn't be a good thing.
No, it would not. So I actually went into the hotel room, and on a napkin, I drew out what I was thinking on a napkin. I took a picture of the carpet and I sent it to the designer, and I was like, this is what I'm thinking. And for me, I would not be able to make anything artistic out of that at all. And she, a couple weeks later, emailed me back the proof, and I was like, okay, this is probably the coolest thing I've ever done. And just from then on, we've just designer all the way. It's a very expensive add-on to our business. I mean, paying a graphic designer that frequently is not cheap.
Mm-hmm. How frequently are you doing new designs?
We try to do about 2 or 3 a month.
Okay.
And it just consistently keeps it new. This year we tried something a little bit different. We took some of our customers' favorites and we tried to revamp existing designs. So with that Magical one, everybody loved it. So we did a Christmas one. So we took the same design, switched up the colors, made it a holiday themed one, which did really well. We've done it with our mermaid design that we have. We did a bluish teal purple the first time, and then we did a sunset version with oranges and pinks and yellows. So people develop their favorite prints of ours, and they don't want to see them go, and they don't mind them being revamped a little bit too.
So when did you know it was time to leave your full-time job?
Oh man,
were you working around the clock and you're like, I can't do this anymore? Or
I'm a really good person when it comes to time management. I was very effective at my teaching job. I was basically able to get all of my requirements done in the day, get my grading done on my prep period or that 20 minutes after school. Like, I was able to be very efficient at what I did. So when I left school, I at least was able to leave that kind of behind, because I was at least at the point in my teaching career where I was comfortable in what I was teaching, I was confident in it, and I was doing well at it, and it was easy for me. And then this kind of started to manifest, and I think it was probably November of 2017, I want to say, if I have the date right.
So how many years were you into it by then?
I would say about 3 years.
Okay.
About 3 years, and we had a house full of people. It was Black Friday. It was our big release for Black Friday, and we were having Friendsgiving outside. We probably had 45 people sitting down at the dinner table at 6 o'clock when it dropped on the internet, and there were hundreds of people on my website, and Jeff, who is responsible for keeping and maintaining everything on our website, didn't put a size choice on the moccasins. And our big drops back in the day would sell out in minutes because I could only take so many, because I knew how many I could make per day, and it was a 3-week turnaround time, and I was working, so it's like I knew exactly how many we could sell, and our customers knew that too. So they wanted to be on at 6 o'clock. They were buying it without a size. Like, I don't care, I'll figure it out later. I don't want to miss it. And we're like, we had to stop Thanksgiving dinner. We had to go in and refund everyone. We had to hold on, start over. And that's when I say our support system is so amazing, because here you have 45 friends that are fully supportive. I came back out after completely being a wreck, thinking that our big Black Friday drop was ruined and whatever. Everything was warming in the oven. They had reset the table. They were totally supportive of that moment for me. And that's kind of when I knew this is bigger than I think we thought. We're getting to the point where we'd sell out in 2-3 minutes.
Sell out how many? How many?
Back then, it was even a couple hundred back then. I mean, I knew how many I could make a night, and my friend's mom would come over and help me cut, and my friend's sisters, they're amazing. They've been around. Thank goodness she has 4 of them, because they've been able to kind of rotate them when they're available, and they were able to come over and help. And we'd have the space that we're sitting in right now, the kitchen table would be pushed. We used to have cart tables that were around our center kitchen island. We had a shipping table over here. It was no longer in one room of my house. It was hundreds of pairs of moccasins all over the place, leather hides in the living room. My kids had to tiptoe around the leather. I mean, I had toddlers back then.
Oh my gosh.
It was not something that was easy to manage, but we wanted to keep that momentum going. So I was willing to leave my job at 2 p.m., 2:30, pick the kids up from daycare. I got to be mom until they went to bed, which we've always tried to keep them on a super strict, you're in bed at 8:30. Good night, we're all done. And that's when my second shift started, and I would work until however long I needed to get those pairs done.
What would that be typically
2, 3 in the morning.
2 or 3 in the morning, wow.
Mm-hmm. And I was just coming off of having toddlers though, so as a new mom, you're not sleeping anyway.
Used to that.
Yeah, you're not sleeping anyway, right? So, and it became to a point where the demand was so high, I wanted to actually quit a year before I did. And Jeff said, not yet. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. I'm dying,
right.
Why not? He's like, let's just, one more year. Let's just get to, he really wanted me to get to my 10th year of teaching. And I wanted to quit at 9. And that, I feel to be able to say I taught for 10 years is a big thing, you know? And it got to a point where I would have to always have a bucket of mocks with me in the car. So I would be at t-ball practice, and I'd literally be cutting out mocks, or I would be flipping mocks and, tying them off and putting the little bows on them. And I would go out in my car during my lunch hour while I was working, which is only 30 minutes. And I would do that in the car and, eat my salad and then have this in the passenger seat. And I had to make it work. And those are some of the best lives I think that my customers that have been around for a couple of years know, that I would go live on Facebook. I would sit in my car. I would have the live feed going, and I would be like, oh, here's Paula's pair. Here, Paula. And I would do your pair in the car while eating my salad at lunch, like on my lunch hour. And, some of my customers still talk about those today. Like, they loved and waited for those. It's just, I don't know how we survived it, to be honest.
Looking back.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, because back then, it's, like you said, you were cutting and sewing every single pair, and now you have some people helping you, but still, I mean, everything is
I'm still sewing.
You still sew.
Jeff is still cutting.
Every single pair.
Yep. And so we can get on, our goal is about 40 to 50 pairs a day, which it used to be like 10 on a good day. Like, my son would actually count when we would go through the post office and we would put them in the slot. He would be mad if it wasn't 10, because he knew that getting 10 pairs done was mommy's goal.
Right.
And sometimes he didn't understand, like, oh, well, there were only 3, mommy. I'm like, yeah, but this one had 2 pairs and this one had 3 pairs. So I got to 10, but it was only 3 orders. And now what's funny is I can't even use that little blue thing out front of the mailbox anymore. We actually have to take it to the main hub. I have to go through the business entrance. There's a little lady that works there that loves us, and she opens up the back door, and huge giant sacks full of packages every day.
Every single day you're shipping
every day.
Oh, wow.
We ship every day now.
Wow. So I was doing some research last night, and you're actually selling on Amazon.
Yep.
So how did that happen?
I was on my prep. I can actually talk comfortably about this now because I'm no longer employed by the school district, but I was on my prep period. And I was checking my email, and I had seen an email about Amazon Handmade. It's right when Amazon Handmade came out.
I didn't even know about Amazon Handmade.
So it's basically like an Etsy, but for Amazon.
Okay.
In my opinion, it's very undermarketed because you don't know about it. You don't know it's there. And I applied. I got denied because they hadn't offered it to shoe companies yet. And back then, that's all we were doing. So, okay, fine, whatever. Completely forgot about it. Year went by. They reached out to me and said, we're now offering a shoe category on Amazon Handmade. We'd love to have you reapply.
Oh.
So I said, okay, what the heck? I'll reapply. I got approved right away. We're the only handmade shoe company on Amazon Handmade.
Oh, wow.
We're the only one.
And how long have you been on there?
Oh man, a couple years now. I would say I was still teaching when we got approved. And I've been retired for, I like to say retired, but retired from teaching for 2 years now. So maybe 3.5 years. It's been a while. I mean, we don't sell a lot on Amazon Handmade.
You don't sell a lot.
The issue with that is we have very few colors available. And the idea is that the people that do find us on Amazon Handmade, when they do get their package and they see that it's been fulfilled not by Amazon, but by the actual company, we enclose like our business card and stuff in there, it draws them to our website. And because there's so many more options there, they don't go back to Amazon and return by buying it that way. They just continue to buy from the website at that point.
How come you don't stock more on Amazon?
It's just a lot to manage when we try to keep the website as updated as possible. So with new releases happening multiple times a month, we try not to overwhelm customers. And because my sole job right now, I would say number one priority is sewing. That's a hard thing that's gonna I don't know how hard that's gonna be for me to let go. Like everyone tells me all the time, like, Brittney, why don't you? I'm like, no, I just like it. Like, you can ask me 3 weeks later what this pair was, and I remember it. Like it's that heart of it that I really, really like that part. And I like to put a lot of time into marketing, and I leave everything else to Jeff. The website is Jeff, and I'll get a pair that gets ordered, and I'm like, unicorn? Why is unicorn still on the website? Like, I don't even think we have this leather left. And I'm going into Jeff, like, Jeff, did you forget to update the website? He's like, oh man, let's find, because with 75 prints, we can't stock them all the time.
Right.
So there's not enough space out there. You've seen it. It's full of leather. It's full of leather. We guarantee that our solid colors and our metallic colors are in stock every day, which one of his jobs is get more on Amazon. But people like to customize them. I think that kind of is what sets us apart, is you're not just buying a pair of shoes. Like, you made it. Like, you picked the heart, you picked the triple fringe, you picked the Mary Jane, and you combined it all together with whatever colors you wanted. And the creativity of our customers is insane. Like,
So I just got it. So then the ones on Amazon are like
stock,
pre-made,
standard,
stock.
just done.
But anytime you want a pair, you come and you actually customize every single pair that you sell.
Every single pair.
Wow.
Every single pair. And we actually have tried over the years to simplify that process for our customers, because as a new customer, I get a lot of feedback that's like, whoa, what does all this mean? And so that's where we had our designer put together like a visual ordering guide. So here's what all these drop-down menus look like in a list, but here's a visual of each one of those and what it actually looks like on your shoe.
Wow.
Kind of idea. Which has helped a lot of people. And actually just this past week, we revamped and kind of beta tested a new way for our customers to order. So basically it'll say, here's your size, pick your size, and it's pictured. Do you want to customize them? And it's your responsibility to say yes or no. Because the people who are like, I'm not here for customizations, I just like it, the picture,
right.
I'm good. Which we have a whole side of customers that are very frequently just, I want the standard, I don't want to do anything to it, I want it easy. And they were just getting overwhelmed by all of those choices. So now if you click yes, I want to customize it, then you're getting all those overwhelming choices, and you know what you're in for. You know what you're after. And we have some customers that just come up with, I'll read it and I look at it and I'm like, what is this going to be? Like, this in my head doesn't even make sense. And then I put it together and it's like, oh my gosh, this is Buzz Lightyear. Like, this is Buzz Lightyear. And then they'll go in our VIP group on Facebook and they post it and they've got like a Buzz Lightyear t-shirt with the shoes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is totally what you were going for. Like, how cool. So I think it gives customers that satisfaction that I didn't make this, but I did make this, which is very cool. You know what I mean?
That's so
like,
cool.
It just keeps it fun.
Yeah.
It keeps it fun.
Did you have to have any funding or capital in the beginning? Nothing? You self-funded everything?
Self-funded everything. We took out no loans.
Admirable.
We went probably 3.5 years before I even got a business credit card. I was using a Target credit card that had a $5,000 limit to buy my leather, and my leather supplier would call me and she'd be like, Brittney, I can't charge this batch of leather. I'm like, oh, dang, hold on. Let me go pay it off from what you shipped me last week, and because I haven't even gotten the bill yet. And we were maxing this out, and it was a friend of ours that was like, what are you doing? Why, if you're ordering this much leather, why don't you have a business credit card? And I'm like, I actually never thought about it, because I'm still like working and momming and sewing, and I don't know, I'm figuring this out as we go. And we got it now, and I can just, all the leather suppliers just have it, they just run it, I order leather, it comes, and it's been nice. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Did you have to work on it like a banking relationship? Was it easy to get a credit card?
It actually, it was. When we went to the bank and we had, everything about with our LLC and all of that, because that was the one thing that I was thankful for Jeff, because it's like, I don't know anything about that. I'm a teacher. I don't know about LLCs and doing it the right way. And he was like, if you were going to do this, you were going to do it right. So he opened up my LLC for me really shortly after I opened up the website. He was like, we got to make sure this is good to go. And I walked in, and the banker, he looked at me and he was like, for a newer business, like, you just be prepared for it to just, and then we looked at the credit limit and we're like, he was like shocked. He was like, I've never seen it be this high for a new business before. Good for you. I'm like, wow, great, thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that limit has just continually gone up, and we're thankful because, when it comes time for Black Friday sales and, holiday stuff, and we're getting ready to, we've been in production for Halloween since July. Like, the leather arrived the other day. It's here. We're ready it's Halloween already, basically. Like, next week, my office is going to be full of Halloween stuff in August. Right. And we just have to be that far ahead. And now I have to be prepared for, $30,000 a month in leather. Just leather.
Wow. $30,000 a month in
leather.
just leather. Mm-hmm. Wow.
In just leather.
That's amazing. Well, let's talk about, I guess you eventually moved the production line out of your kitchen, and you tell us.
It was in a room.
It was in a room in your house.
Then it spilled out into the kitchen, and it was taking over this. And then we actually, in the beginning, used to hand trace and hand cut. Now we have a complete cutting system that Jeff operates, which definitely helps save time. It's a ton of time.
Yeah.
That saves.
And we're going to show everyone this on our video side of the podcast.
Yeah.
But definitely.
Yeah. It's definitely his brain, but and that whole thing was out in the garage. So it would be me running to the garage to get my pieces and running back into my sewing room to sew it, and it's chaos. And then he sat me down one day and he's like, "I have this idea." I was like, "Okay, let me hear it." And he said, "Let's put you in, I can get a shipping container."
A shipping container?
Let's put you in a shipping container. And I was like, a what? Like, you're talking like the big cargo on the trains, like the back of semis, like that's what you're talking about? He was like, "That's exactly what I'm talking about." I'm like, "Do you not realize it's like 115 outside and you want me to sew in a metal box?" And he's like, "You're not getting it. Like, trust me on this." And I was like, "I want no part in this. Tell me when I'm moving. I want no part in this." And then I was standing outside the day it got delivered. Big semi pulled up with my office on the back of it. It had 2 windows and a door. That's how you buy them. And with his architecture background, his dad's an architect as well, they said, "We got this. You just wait." And it's got ceiling fans and shutters and full of Alexa this, Alexa that.
Where did he buy it from?
You can buy them. I don't know if it was local or not because it came on a semi, so I don't know where that transit happened, but apparently buying shipping containers online is a thing.
Wow. And how much does it cost?
It was $7,500.
$7,500. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And then
we put about $15,000 into it.
Okay.
It has 2 air conditioning units, his side, my side. His side had to have a little bit of extra insulation only because his equipment's pretty loud. So that way when we are in there working together and I close his door, I mean, I know his machine is running, but you can't really hear it, which is really nice because my sewing machine's loud enough. So you don't want all the sound bouncing around, and it helps contain it a little bit so that way, the neighbor or whomever can't hear it and that sort of thing.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
How does it feel to have your house back?
It feels great to have my house back. Like, when leather shows up, because we are still at home, it's obviously delivered to the front door. So, to see leather in my house, it almost is like a little anxiety. I'm like, oh my gosh, get it outside. I don't want anything in here anymore.
Yeah.
I do smile sometimes, like when I come back in from working and I might have like thread or whatever on me and I see it like on the floor in the hallway. I'm like, get the vacuum. Get it out. Because, back when we were working and sewing in here, I mean, it was leather dust, leather's very dusty. That suede back is dusty. Thread everywhere. We tie it with elastic, so little elastic everywhere. I mean, it was so hard to keep clean. It's so nice to have its own space outside now.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready for more space. Now I need more room.
Are you going to expand?
I want to. I really do. I really want to. It was my goal for January. And then obviously the situation we're all in, we kind of paused, like, let's just wait, see what's going, we've had a couple places that we've kind of looked into we don't want to rush into it only because what happened with our container was that 300 square feet was glorious. It was so much room. It was going to be, everything was laid out perfectly. And then all of a sudden we moved in and within a couple of months it was too small.
Right.
And we keep it pretty efficiently moving. I mean, we can have, during Black Friday, I think is when it's the busiest. And we can have about 4 or 5 people working in there without us all being on top of each other. And mostly when we have people coming to work, it's flipping the moccasins because everything has to be sewn inside out. So everything has to be flipped by hand. Everything has to be tied by hand. Orders have to be checked and shipped. And
wow. So are you thinking like a actual brick and mortar store or like a warehouse, or are you going to get a couple more shipping containers and like
Well, that's like the joke is people have said like, why don't you just get another shipping container and store all your leather in it? But leather has to kind of be climate controlled because you don't want it to be too hot. You don't want it to dry out. You don't want it to get dirty. And so the idea for me would be to have a warehouse space that you could come as a person and order a pair in person. almost like a 1 hour photo type of thing. Like order, give us an hour, come pick it up later kind of thing. Ideally in a perfect world, that's what I would want to happen.
Yeah.
But I think more immediately we need just a bigger space to, you know, have my sewing machines laid out the way I want, better leather storage for Jeff, because to stock all the leather that we have to stock now, I'm just thankful that our vendors are so easygoing with us because they know we can only stock so much. Like, to go back and say that it would take me 6 months to get through one hide of leather, I could release a color and I'm through 12 hides of leather just on its initial release date.
Wow.
Like, to look from where you started to where we are now, like, it's hundreds of square feet of leather.
Yeah.
All of the time now.
Do you think you'll always remain, you know, homemade, and like, do you ever think about outsourcing to China?
That's not something that's on our plate at all. That will, everything that we do, even from the vendors that we use, they're all US based vendors.
Oh,
so from the
so
places
good.
who make some of the materials that we use, you know, we source it from Texas, and, you know, we may pay a little bit more, but we like to be able to say, like, what we use comes from the United States. Our tanneries are all here. Now, granted, like, some of our leathers are Italian leathers, and, you know, they come from Italy and that sort of thing. There's a lot of tanneries that are in Spain as well. So leather, good quality leather, isn't necessarily always from the United States. But when it comes to outsourcing our production, that's not going to be something that we are even ever going to consider.
Wow.
I would rather train and hire more people to be me and join me and keep it home based. And
Yeah.
hopefully, like, one day my kids can take over.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's somewhere else. I think that our customers like that. I think our customers like knowing, like, Brittney touched this. Like,
Yeah.
they did this for me, which is
Yeah.
really cool. And we like to, you know, you brought up Disneyland and where people meet us and find us in the parks. Like, the relationships that we've made with different customers that we've met throughout the years, like, their kids watch us when we're doing our weekly live every Monday. And so their kids they feel like they know us.
Right.
So they'll be Brittney and Jeff, and they want to hug you, and it's the coolest feeling, like, because I can see that we're having some positive impact on their life. Like, it's just shoes.
Right.
But it really isn't. Like, they might have helped their mom pick their colors and they have some ownership of that too, and I just feel like that kind of is what sets us apart.
Yeah.
It makes it likable, and, you know, we're pretty nice people.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, when you say what sets you apart, tell me about your competitors. Like, is it cutthroat?
I try.
Is it...
In the beginning, when we were here, no one even knew about us. Like, but as the people started to kind of talk about us, like, I could kind of sense, like,
Some cattiness?
okay, and I'm just kind of I'm not that person. Like, I'm not the, like, engager online. Like, I'm just not, I mean, it makes me nervous even thinking about it. Like, I'm just not that person. And, you know, in the beginning, like, I didn't know about a lot of my competitors. I think it's important for us to not necessarily know what our competitors are doing, but just know who our competitors are, and make sure that it's not about what they are doing, but making sure that we are doing our own thing all of the time.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that I think I get a lot of positive feedback on is, quite frequently I'll get people who will email me or Facebook message or whatever, hey, here's a picture of a pair of mocks, can you make them? Well, the answer is yes, but I'm not going to. So I came up with this little blurb a long time ago that just said, you know, to respect the integrity of other makers, I will not recreate something from a photograph. It's not going to be something I would be able to help you with. And I started to go the route of trying to develop professional relationships with my competitors, in the sense that, oh, hey, I know where you can get, I know whose those are, let me direct you to them, here's their website. Like, they make those. And yeah, I was losing a sale, but I think I was gaining the respect of a potential customer, knowing that I'm not a person who's going to be out there to copy you or do what you're doing. Like, I would prefer to stay in my lane, do my thing.
Right.
And I did notice, like, when we branched away from mocks to kind of start implementing other things, a couple months later, so did a few of my competitors. And then we moved into our swaddle blankets and different products, and then so did my competitors. So it's interesting to I feel like, though, the positive in it is I think I'm first most of the time, which to me is a compliment.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Where do you get that entrepreneurial mind and spirit? I mean, were your parents entrepreneurs? I mean,
they weren't. No. I mean, my very first semester at UNLV, I was actually a marketing major.
Oh, really?
That was my major. Like, that's what I was going to do. And then it was one semester, business classes, marketing classes, and I was like, I think I want to be a teacher. Let's just do this instead. Let's be a teacher. And then I never thought about it again. And it's just, looking back, had I started that from the beginning, I always kind of wonder, like, what would have happened? I don't know. But I mean, I'm happy that I think some of my teaching experience, especially when it comes to talking with customers, when you're sending parent emails and you're, being present in staff meetings and you're meeting deadlines, I mean, that helps. All those characteristics help being an entrepreneur, I think, because you're task oriented, you can be professional without having entrepreneurial marketing training. It's just innate, I guess. It just happens.
I'm finding entrepreneurs, I interviewed an entrepreneur this week who from very early on, he was just so entrepreneurial, and it was innate, like you said. And it's like, you guys are all so successful. And
it's like, I always wanted to have a job. Like, I couldn't wait until I got a job because I wanted to work. And from the time that I was in high school, my first job was Baskin Robbins. That was my first official job. But even before that, my grandpa owned an insurance company, and I would go in on Saturdays and he would pay me $10 to vacuum and clean the bathroom at his office. And as I got older, I could file and I could answer the phone. And I remember one Saturday, I've never ever forgotten it. It was the first day I was allowed to answer the phones for him. And I answered the phone, and the lady on the other line asked for my grandfather by name. And I was like, may I tell him who's calling? It was my grandma. And I was so proud of myself that I sounded so professional that she didn't even know it was me. Aww. And so I've had that work ethic my whole life. I've always wanted to work. And people ask me all the time, like, do you hope to not be doing this one day? Like, where do you see yourself? And I'm like, I don't see myself not working. Like, I would get bored, I think, or at least to do the marketing and at least to be there. Right. I think that's a downfall of a lot of entrepreneurs is you get to a point where you're exploding, and then you can afford to hire people and you can afford to let some of that responsibility go. And then I feel like the connection with your customers is lost because that's why they started following you in the first place. Yeah. It was you. Right. You had a great product. You were the face of your company, and that was what would scare me of letting some of that go. Yeah. I like having that relationship with my customers.
What's the biggest challenge? What do you not like about
it? The hours are extremely inconsistent in terms of it's hard to keep a consistent schedule. We had it pretty down with me being done, full-time. I'm full-time mock maker. That's my thing. And we got it really, really down. Jeff had more flexibility with his work schedule to where he was here more full-time, and the kids were both at school. I think that was our saving grace. They were both in elementary school. We had a block of 7 hours every day where we would just get it done. Yeah. And then if you needed to return back out, at night, you can. Yeah. And now the kids are home. Right. We've got virtual school. That's going to bring another, wrench in the game. But I think what keeps it exciting is that we don't mind adapting. And I think that is part of what makes us successful too, is okay, this isn't working. This is a challenge. This is hard. Let's figure it out. Yeah. So, figure it out. If I have to work until 3-4 o'clock in the morning, 3 nights in a row, just so we can go to Disneyland this weekend with the kids, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to do it, but I owe it to my kids. That's the part of being a work-at-home mom, I guess. The kids have to be able to benefit from it too. So it's worked out.
Before we close down the podcast section of it, do you have any parting advice for entrepreneurs who are listening, growing their business, maybe starting their business?
Have coffee.
Have a lot of coffee.
Have a lot of coffee. I think though, it's just, don't feel guilty if you're not sleeping. Don't feel guilty when people are telling you you're working too hard. I would get it all the time. Oh my gosh, you look so tired. Yes, I know. I'm building an empire. Right. I would hope.
Right.
So it's
I'm
worth
an entrepreneur.
Just stay consistent, push, and you got it. I mean, no matter how big or how little it is, as long as you get that one sale, that one Rebecca, you did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it makes it work. Just don't stop. Whether you're tired or not, just go. Just do it.
Your story reminds me so much of Sarah Blakely and how she started Spanx in her home, and she'd come home and the Amazon boxes were so high she couldn't get to her front door, and then she ended up I think she sold. But do you ever, so there's no sell, I mean, what if one big company comes in? I mean, what's the future?
Bigger, more of me. So when I can clone myself, I think, but I mean, obviously I think it's every entrepreneur's dream to get bigger, do more, be more.
I mean, do you wish someday to be in larger retail facilities, or?
I don't know. I mean, to ask me if that's in our immediate future, I don't think so. I mean, it kind of loses that home feel. I just know that personally, while I've been on this journey, and, you know, to see other people that, you know, kind of started, not at the same time, they might have were, you know, already around, a couple of them went like the Shark Tank route and kind of got the deal, and maybe they're still only e-commerce online, but you don't see those people anymore. You know, like, I want to see her. Like, I felt like back in the day when she was sewing the outfits from her home, like, I knew her.
Right.
I didn't, but I felt like I did. Right. And then now I still shop from that company, though. So I'm the opposite of the type of consumer that I think I would get, but I still shop with her and I still support her, but I don't see her as much.
Yeah.
And I just fear that, like, I really enjoy having that relationship with my customers. So it would take a lot for me to not really be physically touching them anymore, but I don't think I could ever not have that relationship. I would still want to be like, what are you sewing over there? What are you doing? What are you cutting? What do you got going on? Like, I want to be there. I don't see myself not being there and, like, buying it out and letting it go. It's just not in our cards. I don't think that's not why we started. So I don't think that's where we would want it to end up.
Well, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
So thank you so much, and like I said, we're gonna have a full video over on our website, or on our website and YouTube. So definitely check it out. So you're ready to go out to the container?
Let's go check it out.
All right, let's go do it.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening today. And if we brought you any value, please rate, subscribe, and share our podcast. Also, please make sure to connect with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Until next week, I'm your host, Paula Y.